Anyone who knows anything about how our bodies respond to various foods knows that rice is just not a friend of those who seek glucose control. But it tastes so good and it works so well with so many dishes. Is there a way to have something like rice that is not going to send our glucose levels into outer space? On today's video, I'll give you 3 possible alternatives. I have here a couple of dishes that are lacking in something. Here I have a turkey stew made by my wife Benedicta, and in this bowl I have something I haven't eaten in decades, but I bought some today just to make a point. So what do these 2 dishes lack? They're lacking something to go underneath of them. I can't speak for the whole world, but in the 2 areas of which I do know a little bit about, America and Africa, I can assure you that most of the people who live in either one of those places would not be crazy about rice on its own. Rice is supposed to be smothered by something like a sauce, a stew, or a thick soup. When I was in Cajun country in Louisiana years ago, I was served a crawfish gumbo over a large bed of rice, and boy, that tasted mighty good. I didn't even mind the crawfish. Of course, that gumbo was so highly seasoned that spicy seasoning was about all you tasted. For diabetics, pre-diabetics, and people who don't ever want to be diabetic, rice is a problem. It just isn't blood sugar friendly, and if you don't believe that, simply ask Mike the blood sugar meter. Eat a rice dish with lots of rice and then test yourself about an hour to an hour and a half later, and there is a pretty good chance your glucose levels will rise significantly. Now, what we need is a substitute for rice, a fake rice that does not have the same effect on blood sugar. On today's program, I'll share with you 3 possible substitutes that should work for most diabetics. For the first option, we'll go to my oldest daughter's house where she and I had a little talk about the possibility of using shirataki rice. The day after Christmas, I wanted to join my daughter and her family for breakfast, which meant I had to get up while it was still dark and head south on Highway 75. Once again, Benedicta, due to COVID concerns, elected to stay home. I hadn't seen Joy and her family in a long time, and I just had to go. The driving went smoothly, and within a few hours, I was in Shreveport, Louisiana. So I have arrived in Bossier City, which is a suburb of Shreveport, Louisiana, and this lovely lady next to me happens to be my daughter, and her name is Joy. Welcome to Beat Diabetes, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's all right. You've actually been on one time before, several years ago, when I was just really getting started. But Joy intrigued me when she told me she had come up with a recipe for a rice that she liked. And this is a product that people have asked me about, and I've tried one version of it, didn't like it at all. Tell us a little bit about the product and how it has worked for you.
Okay, so I've tried it several different times before.
Yeah.
Because the first time I heard about it, they said Miracle Noodle, and you can make spaghetti out of it.
Right.
I tried it.
Kind of a pasta substitute.
It was terrible.
Exactly my experience.
Yes.
Some people have written in and say, well, what about shirataki? We're talking about shirataki or miracle noodles. And there's no problem with the carbs. I mean, it essentially has no carbs. It's not going to raise your blood sugar. So on that score, it's great. But if it makes you gag, how much are you really gaining, right?
Right. I mean, it's low calorie. So even people that don't do low carb have recommended it to me.
Okay.
And I have tried, every recipe you could find on Pinterest, which Pinterest gets me into trouble.
Okay.
But I kept trying and was not successful until I found Miracle Rice.
Okay, so show us the one you didn't like.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just one version because I went on Amazon and I wanted to try all the different ones because I was determined because I'd heard so many people say, yeah, they liked it. And I just tried several different ways, didn't like it. So I got this pack off of Amazon that had just about every miracle noodle you could ask for.
Okay.
And this has been in my cabinet maybe 6 months because I've tried it several different times. This is the ziti style.
Okay, so you bought several packages of this.
Yes, it had like linguine, it had spaghetti, it had the ziti, it had, just anything you can imagine that's like pasta, the imitation of it.
And we're talking about a shirataki noodle.
Yep.
So it's a plant. It has nothing to do with wheat at all. Has almost no carbs, but you didn't like it.
It's slimy.
It's slimy, right.
Ooh.
You know, what I say is, it's not that the taste is bad. Really, if you wash it, when you first open it up, the smell is horrible.
Oh, it smells like cat pee.
It smells terrible.
It's bad.
But you can wash it off with hot water and you can...
Well, they actually say cold water.
Okay. Maybe that was my problem. But I washed it off. I got rid of most of the smell. And then you put some sauce on it.
You're skipping a step.
Okay, what's the step?
When you made it, did you boil it?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't do that.
Okay.
You want to fry it.
I think you're right. But you've tried that, and that didn't even really fix it for you.
Nope.
Now, I didn't even do that. I boiled it. And as I said, it really wasn't a problem with the taste. It
doesn't really have a taste.
It doesn't have much taste if you can get rid of that stinky smell. But the texture, it felt rubbery, slimy. You know, I gave up, and people will ask me, what do you think about it? And I'm like, well, yeah, it won't raise your blood sugar if you can stand it. But you told me you had found a similar product based on basically the same thing, right?
Yep, same thing, but it's the rice. And I don't know.
Miracle rice.
I have told so many friends about this because I miss having rice. Like our family has rice almost every day, if not every other day.
Yeah.
And so I feel deprived, and I love rice. Who doesn't love rice?
Yeah.
And so this was one of the ones that came in the quantity package that I got on Amazon.
Okay.
And I have tried every recipe under the sun. I've also done cauliflower, and I've never been a fan. I've done cauliflower mashed potatoes, anyway, cauliflower rice. I haven't. You figured out something for that. I have not, but I tried this one.
Yeah.
The Miracle Rice.
Miracle Rice.
I don't know. It's because it's...
Now, you're not being paid by the Miracle Rice.
No, but I would work for them because I love it.
Okay. Now, you make it pretty much the way you've made the other things.
Yes.
So it's not that you're using a whole new process on it, but somehow it tastes a lot better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna fry this. We're gonna add some chicken to it, or you're gonna
chicken fried rice.
Chicken fried rice. Interesting. Okay. So based on Joy's enthusiasm for this product, I'm going to definitely give it a try, and we'll report how I like it. I have a feeling it's got to be better than that first group. So we're going to try a dinner, and so give us the rundown of how you're going to make that again. You're going to take it out. You're going to wash it in cold water.
Yep, you put it in a.
Will it stink? Will it stink first?
Every time. It's bad, y'all.
It's gonna stink.
So if this is your first time and you try it, do not get scared off of the smell. Like my husband won't try it because he goes, it smells like you're cooking cat pee. Yeah. It's bad.
Okay.
But once you rinse it off, that really kind of helps. I would say you do it under cold water for about 1 to 2 minutes. I do 2 minutes just to try to get that stink off. And then I'll fry it. And the key is you want to fry it until it's all dried up and there's no more water in that. And then you're going to set it to the side and you cook your other things. Yeah. And then you'll add it as the last step with that and all the sauces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to make a lot of tiny little pieces of the shirataki whatever versus the longer noodles. Maybe that has partly to do with it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the texture and it being so small. And I think it soaks up the other things really well. But I've added this because we love stews. I'm like the stew queen. I don't know if you knew that. But there's so many, if you're low carb, there's so many great stews that you can find on Pinterest. And, the rest of the family will add rice and I add this to it. And honestly, with a lot of my stews, it tastes just like rice to me.
Well, that's very encouraging. So one final question. You don't really have high blood sugar, metabolic syndrome. You're on the slim side. Why do you even care whether it has high carbs or not? Why don't you just eat a bunch of rice?
Well, I know because I've done research.
Okay.
And because I'm your daughter.
And right. So, learned a few things from the old dad.
And I just feel like for my health, it's the best. And honestly, for me, even, health has always been really important. But I mean, my family can attest to that if I have a lot of carbs, I want to go to sleep like within an hour. I mean, if I have pancakes, forget about it. And so right now with working and the kids and as spread out as they are and all the things I have to juggle, I need a lot of energy. And so I can tell a difference on days that I have lots of carbs, I'm exhausted. And when I'm consistently eating low carb, I have so much more energy. And for me, that's it right there.
Yeah, right. Well, and it makes a good point. And that is, it's not just people who are diabetic that really need to cut down on the carbs. And I've never said go down to zero carbs, but we don't need as many carbs as we eat. America is overdosing on carbohydrates. And so we've got to cut them down. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this works. I'll report back and let you know my verdict. But it sounds pretty good to me. So we'll be back after a while. Joy put together a dish made from chicken, eggs, sprouts, onions, and shirataki rice, and it was quite nice. There was no odor from the rice, and the texture was not rubbery or wormy, as with the regular shirataki noodles. Now, if shirataki rice doesn't do it for you, there are a couple of other easy options. One is this: a cauliflower rice. One of our viewers pointed out that frozen cauliflower rice is available in many stores these days, which I didn't know until he said that. So I went to Walmart, and sure enough, they had it. In fact, they had 2 different brands of cauliflower rice and some other vegetable rices. I bought the 2 cauliflower rices and discovered this substitute for rice is really not that great on its own. It tastes way too much like cauliflower. But I also discovered that if you pour a spicy stew over it, the seasoning of the stew will overwhelm the cauliflower taste, and you'll end up feeling like you're eating stew over normal rice. It works best with spicy stews and gumbos. It would be perfect as a bed of fake rice for a spicy Cajun gumbo dish, but don't try to eat it on its own or with some bland dish unless you just like the cauliflower taste. Now, if you can't buy cauliflower rice at your local stores, you can always make it yourself. I'll leave a link to a video that teaches you how to make cauliflower rice. A third option as a substitute for rice is simply to use something like this: shredded lettuce. Now, you may be thinking shredded lettuce isn't even close to rice. Well, no, it's not. But the truth is that many salads feature some form of meat on top of them. A grilled chicken salad, for example, is very popular and tastes great, and it's made up of meat served over lettuce with some other foods thrown in. So there's no law and there's no reason you can't take your stew and pour it on top of a bed of shredded lettuce. And almost for sure you'll get next to no blood sugar spike. Well, for today, I'm going to try some of the Dinty Moore beef stew. This stuff used to be one of my go-to meals in my 20s before I ever thought about blood sugar. And I'm going to try it with some of the cauliflower rice. Now, I did do a little surgery on it. I removed most of the potatoes. Not all, but the great majority of them. I don't really recommend this stew for diabetics. Even the gravy's going to have some carbs. The carrots are going to have some carbs. But since I used to eat this almost every week, I thought it might be fun to give it a shot today and put it over the cauliflower rice. I'll get back to you and let you know how this affected my blood sugar levels. For now, let's review the pros and cons of the 3 rice substitutes that we've talked about. First, the shirataki rice. For the pros of this rice, it should have an extremely minimal effect on blood sugar. A serving of this so-called rice has only 3 grams of carbs, but all of those carbs are fiber, so it essentially has 0 net carbs. Second, it doesn't taste bad. It really has no taste at all. And third, the shirataki rice does not have that rubbery, slimy texture. It doesn't feel like you're eating rubber bands that the regular noodles do. For the cons, it does not have the consistency of rice. It almost feels like you're eating tiny pieces of puffed and hardened rice. So if you're expecting to bite into it and feel like you're eating regular rice, you won't. All right, let's look at the cauliflower rice. This also will have a minimal effect on blood sugar, far less than real rice. Of the 3 options that we've discussed, this comes the closest to having the exact texture of real rice. If you could do away with the cauliflower taste, you'd feel like you're actually eating rice. And this is exactly what will happen if you smother it with a spicy, highly seasoned stew of some kind. That cauliflower taste is going to disappear, and it'll be hard to tell the difference between this and regular rice. But be warned, if you eat it alone or if you eat it with some kind of very bland meat in some bland sauce, you'll still notice that cauliflower taste and you'll probably feel cheated. Third, let's talk about the shredded lettuce. Once again, this will have a very tiny effect upon glucose levels. And it works well as long as you're not expecting it to be a lot like real rice. If you're wanting a rice substitute that tastes like rice and has the texture of rice, well, forget it. This will not work. But if you can think of this as being similar to a grilled chicken salad or a teriyaki salad, this, to me at least, is perfectly satisfactory. So let me try some of this cauliflower rice. We have more than I need with this batch. But this ought to be about right. And my Dinty Moore beef stew that has had most of the potatoes, not all, but most surgically removed. So it looks like you're getting a real stew over real rice. This looks like rice and has the texture of rice, so not too bad. Now, beef stew is not highly seasoned, so this may still have some of the cauliflower taste. I'll take a bite and let you know. Well, it's not bad at all. The gravy kind of overwhelms the cauliflower, and you really don't taste much cauliflower to it. So if someone blindfolded me and gave me a bite of this, I'd feel like I was eating stew over rice. Not bad. All right, I'll get back to you later and let you know how my blood sugar did an hour after finishing my beef stew minus the potatoes over cauliflower rice. And as I expected, the blood sugar rise was not too bad after eating the beef stew over the cauliflower rice. In fact, I'd say it was great. I started out at 102, and 1 hour after eating, my glucose was at 107. A 5-point rise, which is perfectly fine. So Mike apparently thinks that's great, no problemo. Okay, that's it for now. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up so YouTube will promote it to other diabetics seeking ways to control their blood sugar. And consider subscribing to this channel and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified when we post new videos. God bless. See you again soon.